Our world still holds places untouched by time. They are deep within vast continents, far from our bustling cities. These are lands where nature's voice is the only one heard. I found myself drawn to such a place. It was a region spoken of only in hushed tones. The maps showed a great green emptiness. The locals called it the Whispering Lands. They said the trees themselves held secrets. They said the rivers flowed with memories of an ancient time. My journey was to seek an understanding of this place. I wanted to listen to its whispers and learn what they had to teach. The air here felt different. It was heavy with moisture and the rich scent of damp earth. Everything seemed older, more profound. The light struggled to pierce the dense canopy of the forest. It cast long, shifting shadows on the ground below. This was not a place one simply walked into. It was a world one had to be invited into. Every step felt like a question asked to the ancient spirits of the forest. The silence was not empty. It was filled with a deep, resonant hum, the lifeblood of a world that had existed long before us and would likely exist long after we are gone. My quest was not for conquest or discovery in the old sense. It was a pilgrimage. I sought a people who were said to live in perfect harmony with this formidable environment. They were known as the Children of the Mist. No one from the outside world had ever truly met them. They were phantoms, figures of local legend, stories told of people who could walk through the forest without leaving a trace. They could speak the language of the birds. Their existence was a testament to a different way of being, a life woven directly into the fabric of the wild itself. The journey ahead promised to be difficult. It would test my endurance and my resolve. But the pull of this mystery was irresistible. What could we learn from a people who have chosen to remain hidden? What wisdom lies in turning away from the modern world and embracing the deep, quiet rhythm of the ancient earth? These were the questions that drove me forward. I moved slowly with reverence. I was a guest in a kingdom that was not my own. The Whispering Lands were ahead, and I was ready to listen. My path was not a path at all. It was a river, a great winding serpent of brown water that cut through the heart of the jungle. This river was the only way to travel deeper into the Whispering Lands. Our small wooden boat moved slowly against the gentle current. The engine was a quiet hum, a small intrusion in a vast symphony of natural sounds. The riverbanks were a solid wall of green. Giant trees leaned over the water, their branches draped with vines. They looked like ancient guardians, watching our slow progress into their domain. The water reflected the sky, a moving canvas of clouds and leaves. The river was a living thing. Its surface rippled with the movement of unseen creatures below. Sometimes the smooth water would break as a large fish leaped into the air, its scales flashing in the dappled sunlight. Then it would be gone, leaving only expanding circles on the water. The river was the lifeblood of this forest. It carried nutrients. It provided a home for countless species. It was our guide and our lifeline. To travel on it was to feel the pulse of this entire ecosystem. Each bend in the river revealed a new vista, another breathtaking painting of green and brown and blue. The days on the river were long and dreamlike. The sun would rise, turning the morning mist into a golden haze. The sounds of the forest would awaken slowly. First the low calls of unseen birds, then the chatter of monkeys high in the trees. The world felt slow here, deliberate. Time was not measured in hours or minutes. It was measured by the movement of the sun across the sky and the changing light on the water. We were moving deeper and deeper into a world that operated on its own ancient schedule, far from the frantic pace of our own. As we traveled, I felt a sense of shedding. The concerns of the outside world began to fall away. My mind grew quiet, more attuned to my surroundings. I noticed the small things, the way a leaf spiraled down from a high branch, the intricate patterns on a butterfly's wings, the gentle lapping of the water against the side of the boat. This journey was becoming a meditation. I was not just an observer. I was becoming part of the landscape, another quiet presence moving through this immense and sacred space. The river was carrying me not just to a destination, but to a different state of being. After many days on the river, we left the boat behind. The forest now closed in around us. The air grew thicker, cooler. The ground underfoot was soft. A deep carpet of fallen leaves accumulated over centuries. Here, sound traveled differently. It was absorbed by the dense vegetation, creating an intimate, hushed atmosphere. My guide, a man from a nearby village who knew the forest's edge, would occasionally stop. He would point to something I had not seen, a broken twig, a faint print in the mud, small signs, almost invisible. They were echoes of a presence. These were the first clues of the children of the mist. They were subtle, easily missed, a small bundle of leaves tied together with a vine, left on a prominent rock. My guide explained it was a marker, a message left for others. But what did it say? He did not know. The language of these signs was known only to the tribe. We found a series of small carved notches in the bark of a giant tree. They were weathered and old, yet the pattern was deliberate, intentional. It felt like reading a single word from a book, written in a language I could not comprehend. The signs were never obvious. They were woven into the forest itself, a strangely bent sapling, a pattern of stones arranged in a circle near a stream. These were not the signs of a people trying to tame the wilderness. They were the signs of a people who were part of it. Their culture did not stand apart from nature. It was an extension of it. The forest was their home, their temple, and their book of knowledge. Every mark they left was a quiet conversation with the world around them. It filled me with a sense of profound respect. With each new sign, the suspense grew. We were walking in the footsteps of ghosts. We could feel their presence all around us, in the stillness of the air, in the careful arrangement of a few stones. Yet we saw no one. It felt as if we were being watched. The forest itself had eyes. The rustle of leaves was not just the wind. The snap of a twig was not just a falling branch. The feeling was not threatening, but it was powerful. We were being observed, assessed. We were being allowed to proceed, but only with the silent permission of the forest's hidden masters. Lifting my gaze from the forest floor, I discovered another world. High above, in the vast green ceiling of the canopy, life thrived in abundance. To see it, one had to be still and patient. A flash of brilliant blue would reveal a morpho butterfly, its wings like jewels as it danced through a shaft of sunlight. Then, as quickly as it appeared, it would vanish into the green shadows. Monkeys, with their prehensile tails, moved with effortless grace through the high branches. They were a flowing, chattering river of life, a community in the treetops, their calls echoing through the forest. The birds were the true masters of this aerial kingdom. In the early morning, their songs would cascade down from the canopy, a complex and beautiful orchestra. I saw a pair of macaws, their feathers a startling blaze of scarlet and gold, flying side by side. They moved in perfect sync, their powerful wings beating a steady rhythm against the air. They were a symbol of the wild, untamed beauty of this place. Watching them, I felt a sense of joy and wonder. They were so perfectly adapted to their world, so full of life and energy. Their freedom was absolute. Even the smallest creatures were captivating. A hummingbird no bigger than my thumb hovered before a flower. Its wings were a blur of motion, a miracle of biological engineering. It drank the nectar, its iridescent feathers shimmering with a metallic sheen. On a broad leaf, a column of leaf-cutter ants marched in a determined line. Each one carried a piece of a leaf, a green sail held high above its head. They were a society at work, a tiny but powerful force shaping the forest floor. Every living thing had its purpose, its role in this intricate web of life. Observing this world above made me feel very small. It was a reminder of the sheer complexity and diversity of life. The canopy was a city of millions, all living their lives, finding food, raising their young, and contributing to the health of the whole. The children of the mist lived beneath this thriving world. They would have an intimate knowledge of it. They would know the calls of every bird, the habits of every monkey. Their lives would be intertwined with the lives of these creatures in ways we could barely imagine. The forest was not just their home, it was their family. Our journey led us upward. The gentle slopes of the lowlands gave way to steep, rugged hills. These were the Veiled Mountains, named for the thick mist that perpetually clung to their peaks. The air grew cooler, thinner. The character of the forest changed. The trees were shorter, more gnarled, their branches covered in thick coats of moss and dripping with moisture. The ground became treacherous, a slick surface of wet rock and tangled roots. Every step required concentration. The world became a palette of greens and greys, a soft, dreamlike landscape. The mist was a constant companion. It rolled down the mountainsides in silent white waves. It swirled around us, obscuring the path ahead. One moment, we could see 100 yards. The next, our world was reduced to a small circle of visibility. The mist muffled all sound, creating a profound and isolating silence. It was in this silence that the feeling of being watched returned, stronger than ever. The mist was not just a weather phenomenon. It felt like a curtain, a deliberate veil placed by nature to protect its most sacred places. It was the tribe's greatest ally. The wind had a voice here. It whispered through the twisted branches of the ancient trees. It moaned in the high passes. Sometimes it was a gentle sigh, a soft breath against the cheek. At other times, it was a mournful cry that seemed to come from the very heart of the mountain. I would stop and listen, trying to decipher its language. It was a language of solitude, of endurance, of immense geological time. This wind had been shaping these mountains for millennia. It had seen civilizations rise and fall. Our brief presence here was nothing to it. In this high, misty world, the signs of the tribe became more frequent, yet more mysterious. We found shelters built into the sides of cliffs, so well camouflaged they were almost invisible. They were simple structures of rock and wood, designed to blend perfectly with their surroundings. We found no one inside, no tools, no fire pits, no sign of recent occupation. It was as if the inhabitants had simply vanished into the mist. It was clear they did not live in one place. They were nomadic, moving with the seasons, with the animals, with the spirit of the mountains. It happened without warning. We were resting near a waterfall, its roar a constant, soothing presence. The mist was particularly thick that day. For a moment, the wind shifted. A gap opened in the white curtain. Across the small gorge on a high ledge, I saw them. There were 3 figures. They stood perfectly still, like statues carved from the mountain itself. They were tall and slender. Their skin was adorned with intricate white patterns, painted with clay from the river. They wore simple garments made from woven fibers and animal hides. Their faces were turned towards us. The moment was frozen in time. I could not see their features clearly, only their outlines against the grey rock. They held long, slender spears. They were not threatening, they were simply observing us. There was an aura of immense calm and confidence about them. They belonged here as much as the rocks and the trees. In that single, fleeting moment, all the legends and whispers became real. The children of the mist were not ghosts. They were a living, breathing people, guardians of this hidden world. The sight filled me with a sense of awe that was almost overwhelming. Then, as quickly as it had appeared, the gap in the mist closed. The figures were gone. It was as if they had never been there. I questioned whether I had really seen them. Was it a trick of the light, a projection of my own desires onto the shifting mist? But my guide had seen them too. He stood beside me, his eyes wide with a mixture of fear and reverence. He whispered that we were blessed. To see the tribe was a rare gift, one that was not given to many. We had been granted a glimpse into their secret world. We did not try to cross the gorge. We did not call out to them. To do so would have been a violation. It would have shattered the sanctity of the moment. We had come seeking knowledge, and we had been given a profound lesson. The lesson was in their stillness, their silence, their seamless connection to their environment. They had shown us that it was possible to exist in this world without dominating it. It was possible to be powerful without being loud. Their brief appearance was not an invitation, it was a statement. It said, "We are here, and this is our world." Following an almost invisible trail downward from the mountains, we arrived at a place that felt different from the rest of the forest. It was a grove of truly colossal trees. Their trunks were wider than any I had ever seen, their crowns lost in the clouds. The light here was dim, like in a great cathedral. The air was still and cool. The ground was clear of undergrowth, covered only by a soft layer of moss. A profound sense of peace permeated this place. It was a sanctuary, a sacred grove. The silence was absolute. In the center of the grove stood a single, enormous stone. It was covered in carvings. These were not the simple notches we had seen before. These were complex, swirling patterns and figures. And there were images of animals, of the sun and the moon, and of human-like forms with elongated limbs. The carvings were ancient, worn smooth by centuries of wind and rain, and perhaps by the touch of human hands. This was clearly a place of great significance. It was a library of stone, a chronicle of the tribe's history and their beliefs, written in a language of symbols. We found offerings left at the base of the stone, small bundles of bright feathers, a bowl carved from wood filled with clear water, a string of polished river stones. These were not sacrifices made out of fear. They were gifts, expressions of gratitude and respect. They were a sign of a deep and reciprocal relationship with the world. The tribe did not just take from the forest, they gave back. This grove was a place where that relationship was honored and reaffirmed. It was the heart of their spiritual world. We spent hours in the grove, but we touched nothing. We were intruders in a holy place. To disturb anything would have been an act of desecration. I felt a powerful sense of the tribe's presence here, even more so than when I had seen them in the mountains. This was where their spirits dwelled. This was where they came to connect with their ancestors and with the forces that governed their world. I realized that the true secrets of the tribe were not about their survival skills or their daily habits. The real secret was this deep, spiritual connection to the land, a connection we have almost entirely lost. Our journey back was quiet. We spoke very little. The experience had left a deep impression on me, one that words could not easily express. We had not discovered the tribe in the traditional sense. We had not interviewed them, photographed them, or collected their artifacts. We had not solved the mystery of the Children of the Mist. Instead, the mystery had deepened. But I felt I had learned more than I ever could have through conventional methods. I had learned the wisdom of silence and the power of respect. The tribe's greatest strength was their invisibility. By remaining hidden, they had preserved their way of life. They had protected their culture from the disruptive influence of the outside world. They had chosen to remain a whisper, a legend. In our modern world, we are obsessed with knowing everything, with mapping every corner of the globe, with explaining every mystery. We believe that knowledge is power. But the Children of the Mist taught me that there is also power in not knowing. There is power in allowing some things to remain sacred and untouched. True wisdom, I began to understand, does not always come from answers. Sometimes it comes from learning to live with the questions. The tribe's existence posed a profound question to our own civilization. Is our way of life the only way? Is our definition of progress the only definition? By simply being, they offered an alternative, a life of balance, of respect, of deep connection to the natural world. Their silence was more eloquent than any speech. Their absence was more powerful than any presence. I left the Whispering Lands with a sense of humility. I had gone in search of a hidden tribe, and I had found a mirror. Their world reflected back on our own, highlighting what we have lost. Our disconnection from nature, our loss of the sacred, our inability to simply be still and listen. The greatest gift the tribe gave me was not the glimpse of their figures in the mist, but the understanding that some secrets are not meant to be solved. They are meant to be honored. They are meant to remind us that the world is far more mysterious and wonderful than we can ever fully comprehend. As our boat drifted back down the river, away from the green heart of the jungle, the world began to change. The sounds of our own world slowly returned. The distant hum of a motor, the sight of a cleared field. Each was a small tear in the perfect fabric of the world I was leaving behind. The Whispering Lands receded, pulling their veil of mist and mystery back around them. The Children of the Mist were once again phantoms, secure in their hidden kingdom. I knew I would never return. To do so would be to betray the unspoken trust they had shown me. The journey had ended, but its impact would remain with me forever. It reshaped my understanding of our planet and our place on it. It is a comforting thought, in our hyper-connected world, that there are still places that remain wild and free. It is even more comforting to know that there are people who have chosen to be the guardians of that wildness. They are a living reminder of a wisdom we have forgotten, a path we did not take. Their existence enriches our world, even if we never see them, even if we never know their names. The mystery of the Children of the Mist remains. Who are they? What is the meaning of their stone carvings? What do they believe about the world? These questions will likely never be answered, and perhaps that is for the best. Their story is not for us to write, it is for them to live. Their secrets are their own, and they have a right to keep them. Our role is not to expose them, but to protect the world they inhabit, to ensure that the Whispering Lands remain a place where such a life is possible. And so, the greatest treasure I brought back was not a photograph or an artifact. It was a sense of wonder, a renewed appreciation for the unknown. The world is not a problem to be solved. It is a story to be experienced. And the most beautiful stories are often the ones that leave us with a sense of awe, the ones that hint at a truth too profound for words. The Children of the Mist are one such story, a silent, powerful poem written on the heart of the wild earth. And it is a story that should be left forever unfinished.